I'd like to introduce Casey Carpenter. Casey is an author, community organizer, and coach with a rich background in digital engagement and community building across nonprofits in both the public and private sectors. He has decades of experience leading global teams at Cisco, focusing on technology innovation and organizational transformation. He serves on nonprofit boards, including the National Writers Union and Grateful Giving Product Advisory Council, and he led the Sierra Club's chapter digital team. But most importantly, Casey is my life partner of 22 years. So I'm really proud to introduce Casey.
All right, thank you. All right, that's great. So I was just listening to some of the questions that were asked, and I'm hoping to really answer all your questions about how to become much more efficient and capable with not only capturing stories that are authentic, but making sure to get out there and really go to work for you. And so please go to the next slide. Display.
Yeah.
Just a little air.
What's going on?
Here we go. I can do it. Here we go. Yeah, just do it like that.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening.
Did you start it with the screen slideshow?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh,
There we go.
okay.
So push on slideshow, please, and go back to the beginning.
Okay, back to the beginning.
All the way back to the beginning. Push on slideshow. There we go.
What happened?
And then one more slide.
Oh my,
Should just be able to hit next. Just
I think that's, yeah.
just slideshow next. And if we don't go with there, we go. Perfect.
There.
Oh, yeah. So one thing about him is that you can have over 3 decades of experience like I do, or you can be just getting started. You're always going to have challenges. So I just want you to all be rest assured it's going to be okay. That's right. And Kathy provided a little bit of a background on me. Really, I want this to be a learning session, a collaboration. I've always been a lifelong learner, and this new thing that's happening in tech, AI, is something we're all going to be learning about. And so together today, wherever you're starting from, you may have some experience, might be an expert, or this may be brand new. At the end of the session, you're going to have some amazing tools and capabilities to go out in your community and capture really quality content. I was in a tech career, as Kathy said, in Silicon Valley. Tech career turned change maker. My life changed back in 2016, my journey with Bernie, and I really focused more on volunteering, serving for good, writing, and helping coach nonprofits and volunteer organizations to do this work. So back in the days when I was doing this in the early 1990s, when the internet was the technology coming in, it was going to change the way we live, learn, play, and learn. Literally, I had 3 to 6 months, marketing budget, whole team, several agencies to produce the type of content that you can actually produce in a few minutes, a few days. I'm now Ruben service. I love to go out my journeys in nature. I did serve with the Sierra Club, and I'm a local advocacy leader in Oregon. And Kathy and I have 4 grown adults. I'm going to get promoted from dad to grandpa. So it's one of the big things I'm looking forward to. So let's go to the next slide. Let's go to the next.
So let's first take a look at what's on our menu for the storytelling agenda today. Let's first begin with storytelling. Yeah, what's that?
Storytelling with digital tools using AI. I'm your host with the most, Chris P. Cole, fresh off the tree and ready to crunch into today's juicy lineup.
And I'm Kale DeVille, your leafy green queen of content. I bring the flavor, the sass, and the smarts when it comes to digital storytelling. Buckle up, buttercups, we're about to spice up your strategy.
On our storytelling menu today, served fresh in 6 delicious courses.
Why storytelling? We'll dive into why stories matter, especially for cleaning, food security, and community-driven missions.
Course 2. What is AI? A no-jargon overview of artificial intelligence. Think of it as your new digital sous chef.
Course 3, Prompting 101. That's where I shine. You'll learn how to talk to AI like a pro, because let's face it, great prompts equals great results.
Live demos. We're slicing and dicing real-time examples for visuals, audio, and video storytelling using today's top AI tools.
Course 5, Special Guests. That's right, we're dishing up a panel of community voices sharing their favorite recipes for storytelling success.
And Course 6, Q&A plus resources. Ask us anything. We'll leave you with a doggy bag full of tools, tips, and takeaways to cook up your own content magic.
That was, you're gonna hear from Chris B. Core, our host with the most, and the PhD in vegetable science, Mr. Kale, later today in the panel. They kind of jumped the gun, but they're very excited about food and food security projects. Next slide, please. So first, we've heard about this, for the last couple of days, and you're gonna keep hearing about this all week. You already know this. Storytelling is your most powerful resource. By far, it's the most important thing you can do is generate the stories, because as humans, this is how we've learned to get connected, and it's not about data or facts. It's really how do we tell stories. And so one of the things we're going to do is we're going to talk about two types of stories that are really the best types of stories to tell for your organization. First, it's the story of your organization, right? You want to be able to tell about the people and the work you're doing. And stories often have structures. We're used to the stories, following these structures. This is the hero story of your organization. First, we start with the problem. We heard in our keynote today, we heard from a lot of speakers about all the wasted food. That is a problem. It's a real problem. We want to define it. We want to talk next about why your organization is the hero, because you have the solution. What is that solution? And then you want to highlight what makes you unique. How do you differentiate yourself? Right? There's a lot of different organizations. We just heard about a directory. You need to be very specific about what you do, because those expectations you're setting in the story need to pay off for someone to feel satisfied. And then finally, share what your purpose is and why you're making a difference. People really are emotional. They're going to care more about the emotions of your story and then inspire action. This is that button you're pushing on your website. This is the sign up and do this thing. So next slide, please. The second type of the story is the story of the hero, the person you're serving. It's a little bit of a different structure, but it's one we all know. It starts with the beginning. You want to set the scene, the time, the place. You want to introduce your hero. The middle, some challenges, obstacles have happened, right? The hero is not successful. They've run into some obstacles, but there is a resolution. There's a transformation. The lives have been changed. And then boom, we're going to go back to our mission, right? We're going to connect it back to the AGO or your cleaning or your food service organization, whatever it is. And now you ask for help, right? These are the two types of stories that I highly recommend you create in your community and make them authentic with the people that you're serving and the people that are receiving the benefits. Next slide, please. So today, what we have is something that my early career would take hundreds of thousands of dollars, lots of time, lots of creative resources. We can do a video like that, and actually much, much better. That was just fun. We can do this in minutes. I'm going to teach you how. What is AI? AI is just another set of new technologies that can either be put to a purpose of good, but there's also some things we have to be careful about with that. There's a lot of risks that I want you to be aware of. Today, we're going to focus on how we can use AI for good. We're going to eliminate a lot of those barriers to create the content, get it out there in the right quality and format. So it's going to serve you much faster. we're going to make it easier for you to create consistent communications. So what I like to do anytime I'm at any type of event, I'm actually capturing photos and stories. I'm bringing it in. Now the problem was in the past, when would I have time to go produce the content? I wouldn't. Now with AI, it's really easy for you to use the tools I'm going to teach you today in your own team or even with volunteers who literally do not have to have any technology background. Next slide, please. So today we're going to do baseline AI, which starts with prompting. Prompting is how we communicate with a chatbot interface. And the AI models that we're interfacing with are called large language models. What they've literally done is they've brought in all of this content in terms of like books and letters and photos and other types of content. Can you hear me still? It's okay. And what we need to be able to do is have a language that we can talk to the AI tool. So the tools that I'm going to use today to show you demos include tools from OpenAI, which is ChatGPT, Microsoft, Copilot, and Google. Google's got several AI platforms. Who here, a show of hands, is already using some AI to do in some way? Okay. Yeah, it's pretty good. Most of you have. And again, there's so much more out there, but today we're going to start with the basics. Next slide, please. So first of all, when you're starting with a chatbot, any of them have the same basic behavior. It's a couple of do's that's really important into your communication. And for many of you, you'll actually be typing in your prompts on your computer or on your phone. Or what I like to do is I actually just pick up my phone and I click the little microphone and I just talk to the prompt. But I think as you begin, it's probably easier to write these prompts because there's a structure and a set of things that I want to teach you to do. First, you really want to be very clear and descriptive. Because AI is a technology, what goes in determines the quality coming out. So the more you're clear on what you want to have in the AI to do, you want to make sure it's very clear. We want to make it action-oriented. We want to be able to describe a specific style and tone. That's really important. I can make it fun, funny, like the characters that you saw. I can make it very serious. That is very important in terms of asking them to deliver to you. And you can also do a lot of text variations. You can do some testing. Sometimes I'll actually have two AIs looking at kind of two different styles to see which is the one that I think is going to work best. You can have different levels of creativity. Be specific about your format. Sometimes people are like, give me a photo of an apple. Crispy core crisp, I was very specific. He's got a little bow tie, he's got a personality. And then if you have a very complex task, very often I'll just ask the guy to work in steps. Break it down to one step at a time. So here is an example of a very good structure to start with as you start looking at creating AI prompts. You're going to ask an AI agent, think of it as your assistant. Act in this role, do this thing for me with this input, and give the result in this format. It's really easy. It's 4 things. So we're going to look at 3 specific roles that I actually use to help create content for this symposium this week. First, newsletter editor, then a social media strategist, and then a webmaster. Next slide, please. Right. So it's a little bit small text, but I'm going to read it to you kind of in summary. I've asked my newsletter editor to create 3 compelling newsletter titles. My newsletter is called Life is a Journey for the 2025 AGO Symposium. Specifically use the word glean with themes of learning, fun, and community to our audience. That's the who. That's who's going to be the audience for this content. Reflecting the mission with a sense of purpose-joined belonging with the result with 3 title options and a 1-sentence description. So it's really cool about this because I actually just used Sean and Kathy's content to generate all of this. I just put it in a prompt format. And this is what I received. Lean on me, the Glean team, growing community one harvest at a time, and Glean forward. And I selected the Glean team. I'm big on teams. That took 30 seconds. Next slide, please. So now my title, I thought I'm going to write the newsletter with AI. Now what I want to do is I want to start to promote it on social media. Now the thing about social media, you've got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you've got all these different channels. That's a lot of work. Do I have a social media strategist? I have AI. So I did another prompt. Act as a social media strategist with a concise, compelling, and engaging post for AGM. And this is my output. In this case, I like to put emojis and hashtags in. So if you actually check out my newsletter or my social media channel this week, these posts have been run. Next slide, please. You know what you could even do with AI? You could even ask it to create a website. So pretty much prompting, and it's something I want to practice with you all here today in the break. We can talk about it. The more you practice it, the more you teach your volunteers, the people that are in your organization, even clients, how they can actually generate their own stories you can capture. These basic tools will take very inconsistent, professional quality input to generate you really easy, fast, high quality content. And you're going to see how I'm going to build these basic steps into some complete deliverables in a minute. So in this case, the webmaster would have some content for the website. You could also say, I already have the website. I just want to be able to take some other information and update it in other types of ways you might be asking for a basic prompt. And for me, the newsletter that I produce, I do most of the writing, but AI really helps me with research. For example, today I was doing some research for Providence. I don't have time with this session to go investigate everything that's around me. AI just pulled that all in for me. And so now I have all the content of my article that will be supported by the title and the drafts. Next slide, please. So here's a couple of quick examples, and these slides are all available to you. I'm not sure how they're going to package it up, but the slides, the scripts, my toolkits are available. So don't try to read it all today or take pictures. I guarantee you can get access to all of this afterwards. Yeah, you can take pictures, that's fine, but don't try to capture it all. So here's the quick story that was generated for what I published this week. My problem, the billions of pounds of produce that go unharvested, the solution, we are the solution. Next slide, please. How we work, this is our strategy, right? You all know this. And then the transformation, right? We're bringing people from local to national. So the local solutions you're sharing, we're scaling it across the country. And then click, please. The invitation, the call to action with the website. Literally, in the time that I presented this, we could have produced newsletters for every one of your organizations. Next slide, please. And this is the second scenario I discussed. This is the hero who you serve in your community. And in this case, AI created a hero's journey. I can actually share you how I write it because I have someone that I actually serve. Every Thursday, I volunteer and I pick that down. Dell is disabled. He's an immigrant. He suffered a stroke last year, and we go and we volunteer bringing food from a food pantry, from a food bank to the food pantry in Hedgewood, Oregon. The Dell actually acts as a volunteer, but he's also a client. Then he goes shopping after he volunteers. And so Dell is like millions of people in America who are facing the same problems and doesn't know how they're going to get good, healthy, quality food to eat every day. Next slide, please. The resolution is, because of the Bethlehem House of Bread, where we go to the food pantry, Dell gets the feeling that we're lifting sometimes close to 10 tons of food from the crates into the food pantry. So, and then he goes shopping. So he's actually participating in the process, which I think is very, very important. The people that are in the need are also the people learning how to do the work and doing the work if they're capable. And then the mission is completed. In my case, it's Dell's story. So every single one of you have folks are served. And so really think about how you're going to try to capture their stories. First, you better get the permission, make sure it's authentic. But with these tools, you'll be able to much quickly and higher quality build a story bank. Build a way to deliver your story in a much more scalable way. Just starting with these basic texting content forms. Next slide, please. And that's a call to action. Very similar call to action for these two stories. Next slide. Boom. So, but here's the thing with words. What's the saying? A picture's 1,000 words, right? So whenever I do my newsletters, I always start it with photos that I've captured. Like today, I've been going around and looking for photos. But in some cases, I don't have the photo. You can ask AI, edit photos, create photos. This is a photo prompt that I wanted to show kind of this intersection of fruits and vegetables and digital tech. You can kind of see a little digital, schematic. Next slide, please. So we can do the same thing, edit photos or images or create them with AI with the same type of prompting instructions and structures. Just as fast and even more unbelievable. The structure that I like to use is another template. It's a little bit different. In this case, for a visual, I want to start with the subject. Just think about your focusing your camera. What's your focus? What's the subject of the photo? It could be a person or it could be all of you. Maybe I'm looking at a wide angle view. What's the action? That's as important in the image as it is in the text prompt. What's the setting? How can I bring, are we out in the farm like we were yesterday? Are we out in the sunset, with the vegetable race? And then what's the style? This could be a high resolution 3D photo. It could be a painting. It could be whatever style you want it to be. And then there's some optional things that I highly recommend for photos. What are the things that you don't want? Really important sometimes to do negative prompting. Sometimes AI has trouble with words and text, but I don't want it to try to do it if I know it's going to make a mistake. So do not put in captions or text. Or maybe there's some other things that I don't want it to do. So there's a whole set of examples, but it's very simple. Subject, action, setting, style and medium, and then optional details. Like you want your color palette to be warm, blue tone. You might even have a brand guide and specific colors you want to have in these images so they're consistent with your website, your newsletter, and all of your content. AI can do it all. Next slide, please. So here's a prompt that I created for this presentation. And I really want to show kind of like the intersection of video content, making a movie for gleaners. And, this is the one I liked it, so I selected it. Again, a very simple prompt. Wide angle, high resolution image of a film real icon with gleaners. In this case, I didn't get the people, I got the food. And I really wanted to symbolize the connection between healthy fruits and vegetables. And in this case, it's a video from a community. Next slide, please. Here's another one. This is the one that I wanted to be more of the people in the hands, right? So you can literally get so many of these done so quickly. And a good way to decide what content's going to work is to really iterate, play around, have fun. Next slide. Aha. You might recognize these guys. These characters were inspired by Kathy, when she said, I'd like to have a little apple in your presentation. And so we basically created a very detailed description of crispy apple core and kale DeVille, and then all of you, the fruits and vegetable lovers in our audience, all yay! Next slide, please. And I just took the same type of an input and I put it into what I think would be a great poster, right? Your average community event, right? I'm thinking about these bulletin boards we see here all around this venue. And I see a lot of compelling posters. And this is why the images are so important, because we're really trying to get people's attention. We're trying to break through the noise. It's not just the words and the images that are connecting together as we tell our stories. And you can see this is a very detailed prompt, a rich and expressive folk art inspired painting depicting volunteers and farmers. What is very important for images is be sure that you give credit to the AI in your captions. And also in the alt image description, a lot of times people that have access to the phones or the content, they may be visually impaired. So you can use the alt text to include actually a description so they'll be able to read it. In most cases, if I'm being supported by AI, I'll have like a PC Carpenter copyright, and I'll be very specific saying AI generated content. Really important. Next slide, please. Yeah, so here's one where you can also manipulate your own images. So these are AI generated images that are like I told them what to do, they created it, but I still can do this on my phone. Where I use AI a lot is I'll take an image on my phone and I'll do some editing on it. And you can use editing tools to do this today. The one that I use is Canva. I just use the AI tool on my iPhone. But sometimes I really want AI to be able to create something. And so this is an example when I have a comparison between a right side and a left side. Go to the next slide, please. And you can see, what do we have? We have the farm, we have the table. And so these are great images to give people the sense of, this is what happens. How did the food get here? To be honest with you, a lot of Americans don't know this, right? They go to McDonald's to get their food. They don't understand that the food in the farm has to get to the table, and especially if you're going to have quality food like this. Next slide, please. All right. So I'm moving really, really fast. And I'm going to be around after the session as well to talk about it, answer your questions. But I'm really trying to build up the steps. You start with content, the add images, the audio. Audio is probably the most important thing. But today, more people are listening to books than reading books. So one of the best ways to reach your audience, is to create some audio content. It could be in the form of the music and the scripting that's going to support your movie, or it could be a podcast. Podcasts are huge. And the problem, though, with audio, again, it's another one of these areas that requires a lot of expertise, a lot of knowledge. Not with AI. It can be much easier and much faster. And in fact, I just discovered just around the corner is a writer's resource center where they actually have an audio recording studio that's available for writers. I'm like, this is amazing. But you can actually get a microphone, plug in your computer, and you can be generating, or from your phone even. You don't even need a microphone. So I used the AI to create first. I took those characters we defined, the personalities, we then created visual images of them. And I asked AI, help me to create a script. And you saw the first one, where they jumped in and stole my agenda, right? They're going to come back. So I had to create a few scripts. You can also convert text to audio. For me, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll go for my walk in nature. I'll just get out my phone and I'll just use my prompts. And I'll just ask the AI, I've got this presentation next week. Help me generate a story for the gleaners. And it'll come back with the script and I can listen to it. Then I can capture that content and decide how I'm going to edit together. And what's really important is, think about this as a great scenario. You have a standard set of questions for your people in your community, either the volunteers or the clients, the shoppers, the people that are receiving the food. Ask them questions and capture it into an AI-based library of images and words and audio. Then we can start building together. I mean, I would love to do a project with AGO where we take all of your different stories and we bring it together for Kathy and Sean. We roll it out as a big collective collage. And then one really cool one I like to do is a podcast. And Google has a tool that each time I publish my newsletter, I load it into Google notebook, it automatically generates some things for me. It generates a mind map, generates some analysis of that, and it generates a podcast. Next slide, please.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at something that, well, it feels like a paradox, doesn't it? How can so many people still be facing hunger when at the same time, so much perfectly good food just goes to waste?
It really is a stark contrast.
Yeah.
And it highlights these massive disconnects in our food systems.
Absolutely. And that brings us to gleaning this ancient practice, really, of rescuing surplus food. It feels incredibly relevant, maybe more vital now than ever.
It does. And it's not just some small niche thing anymore. When you grasp the scale of the food being lost, you see why organized efforts like gleaning groups are so important.
Which is why we're focusing today on the upcoming 2025 International Gleaning Symposium. It's happening in Providence, Rhode Island, hosted by Hope's Harvest and the Association of Gleaning Organizations. Seems like a critical gathering point.
Oh, definitely. Think of it as a hub. It's where the people actually doing the work, the volunteers, the organizers, they all come together. They share what's working, what's not, and figure out how to have an even bigger impact.
Yeah, that cross-pollination of ideas must be huge. To get a better feel for this, we're going to draw on the perspective of Casey Carpenter. Casey's an author, organizer, coach, volunteers at a food pantry, and is planning to be at the symposium.
Right, and Casey has this really interesting background, community building, sure, but also tech innovation, environmental work with groups like the Sierra Club.
Yeah.
It gives them a pretty unique viewpoint.
So our goal here, our mission for this deep dive, is to really get into the food challenges we're facing today, understand the crucial mission of the Gleaners gathering in Providence.
Next slide. It keeps going. I invite you to go and check out my Substack. But you can see that was something that was generated. I didn't have to do any other work, right? And so there's so many ways, and it took the content that I created. It was my story, my message. And in the current Google LLM, you get these two posts. There's ways to do some other features. They're actually going to do a startup. They left Google. They're working on more. There's a lot more coming in audio. You can create music. You can clone a voice. So I just published my first mystery thriller set in Joshua Tree National Park. They give. And I got some books there afterwards. I'd love to get you guys signed up. I got a book cover competition going. I need to get some people a book for my friend, the artist, and created the cover. But Apple gave me a free audio version of my book. And so that was cool. It saved me, I didn't have time to go do it because I was working on the symposium. But what I can also do is I can clone my voice. And I use the same technology to help edit my book. I was writing it. Because it's hard for me to read it and see how it sounds. But when I heard my voice reading it to me, I was able to hear my voice speaking it, and I could actually stop it, make corrections to my document. So there's just so much with audio, and it's moving so fast. I didn't even get into some of the advanced audio tools. All right, and how are we doing on time? 5 minutes. Perfect. Okay, great. So as I said, I could go on and on for hours. Now we're going to focus into what is actually the most important content you'll create. It's videos, it's movies, it's documentaries, it's bringing these stories to life. And this is really popping. In fact, right before our symposium, Google just rolled out some new content and video capabilities. I was using it more in the way described, where it's like, first let's create the storyline, the character, build the video, and I'm going to assemble it. Pretty much the technology can do a lot of this for you now. And so, and it's only going to get better. I use Canva as a way I assembled everything together. Canva, how many people are aware of Canva and are using that? Great, yeah. It's the best platform. The free version can go so far. And so I kind of pulled it together to show you how we can bring the words, the images, the audio, and then bring some video into a film. Next slide, please. And before I do, there's a bunch of things you can do, right? We did turning the stories into videos, the planning, the storyboarding, the scripting, visuals and motions, bringing things to life, creating short videos with Google AI Studios, and having fun. What's really most important about it is today, if you want to get people's attention, time spans are so brief. Literally, it's the first couple of seconds of video on TikTok or Instagram that get people's attention. So you really, really want to focus on good quality audio, good quality video. I had a lot of fun on this. I didn't focus too much on that, but it'll help you make that happen. Next slide.
I'm your host, Chris P. Core. Yes, like the center of an apple, and I'm thrilled to welcome you to the first ever Produce and Policy podcast panel today. We're tackling the tough stuff. Federal budget cuts to food security programs, less funding for gleaners, food pantries, farmers, basically anyone who believes no one should go to bed hungry. So to help us peel back the layers, I've invited two of the freshest voices in the field.
And one rogue penguin who slid in under the radar.
Let's organize a union, power to the fruits and vegetables today.
Yes, well, let's start with you, Kel DeVille, PhD in food sovereignty, podcast host of Leave It to Me, and general salad celebrity. Thanks, Chris. And let me just say, nothing says we value food equity like slashing the gleaning budget while boosting corn subsidies. We're basically paying to throw away vegetables and keep Twinkies on life support. Okay, moving right along.
No justice, no peace. Tariffs on taters are tyranny.
Oh dear, he's back. Careful, Chris. Last time he chained himself to the cheese tray.
This is a revolution of refrigeration. Solidarity with snacks.
Okay, we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. And maybe some water.
Next slide, please. Yeah, in fact, today is it's May Day. It's another day of protest that's happening. Actually, here in Providence, there's protests happening down at City Hall today, and then this weekend. So we kind of brought in a little bit of protester theme. I want to close with I'm in a union, and the National Writers Union has actually created. We have a working group for AI, and I told you that there's a lot of good we can do. There's also some big risks. So we have a policy for AI for good. First of all, it's about empowering creativity, not replacing creators. I'm a writer. Our union is open to all creators. And so it's actually a great threat to all creators. And so we need to make sure we're not stealing, but we can use AI in a positive way. And it's really important that we maintain fair compensation for the work, right? So this is a tool that's empowering you to do things that used to take, big corporations, you can take on the bad with good, but also recognize if you've got folks that are, you're paying to do work, this just helps you upscale the work, right? Think of it as an assistant for the workers, and then be very transparent and ethical. There's a lot to learn about AI, and so be careful about the things that go wrong. AI hallucinates. Make sure someone's actually checking the work. It may look like it's correct, but it's not. And sometimes it'll misspell things, or in fact, it can do things that are dangerous. So just, if you want to learn more about this, the National Writers Union has a generative AI policy and working group. Next slide, please. So, for kind of a whole thing very quickly. And I wanted to make sure I gave you kind of the steps to build up. Everyone's going to work one step at a time where you are. All of these resources are available. The scripts I use, the slides, the docs. Also, in the work I do as a coach, I actually help nonprofits with coaching. So if you're interested in learning more about this, come stop by, talk to me. I just did a good coaching work over the weekend for an organization in Portland that had been very successful in work about 10, 15 years ago and was looking for how can we recharge. And specifically in terms of building out your communication strategies, your digital plans, that's where I have a lot of expertise and can help you kind of get from, it sounds great, but Casey did a lot of things. It really helps you get into hands-on. And so that's my email contact. These are my books I've written. My first book was My Journey with Burning. My second book was a playbook, Ready, Set, Go. And I just published my first mystery thriller. And you can follow me at Casey Life is a Journey, Substack.com. So are there any questions? Who's got a question? In the back.
Just go through the tools, like which
Yeah, yeah. So there's three primary tools that I'd recommend you start with, 1, 2, or 3 of them. The first one is called ChatGPT. OpenAI is really the leader. And ChatGPT, you can access it through a web browser on a computer. You can download it as an app. And ChatGPT is really, really kind of the leader in the field. I used ChatGPT specifically when I was working on the words and the images to start. Microsoft has a platform called Copilot. And Copilot, when they got started, Microsoft was an investor in OpenAI, ChatGPT. But what Microsoft had is they were kind of ahead of the curve on images. And so I used Copilot to really work on the text and then bridging it with the images. And then the third one is Google, right? Those standard platform. Those are the three. They're all free of use. You can always pay to get more, but you don't need to. And so Google, I used 3 of their features in their portfolio of tools. For me, what made Google the most valuable is that most of my work I do in Google Docs or Google Sheets or YouTube or Google Drive. And so when you're informing the chat, you can do a lot more with Google to say, go to my Drive, input this document as the background. So I don't have to type it all in. Google you can also ask it to say, go look at all these YouTube videos. Maybe you will have an archive of YouTube videos, or you need to create a new training program based on YouTube video. It can actually pull up a transcript for you off of the Google video. Amazing. And they just launched these really cool video tools, and they've got some music tools. And then the Google Notebook is a very research-centered framework. And as I said, there's many other AI tools and platforms and startups getting launched every day, but you don't need to start there. You can just start with the basics. And if you're interested in more advanced stuff in the break, I can do that as well. Another question? One more and then I'll wrap. Right there.
Less of a question, but you're using Canva, and I love Canva.
Yes.
I have for myself, and I started paying for it, which I've never done before. Canva offers a free full version for nonprofits. So.
Great point.
Yeah, it's free.
Yeah.
And full Canva account, and you have to be very, very specific with what you're asking.
Yeah. That's actually a good point, and I did bring it up. You can get access to a lot of the more advanced technologies by applying to nonprofit programs. And so Canva's fantastic. And the other thing that's going to happen is every tool is going to have AI baked in. It's going to be baked into your phone and what's going to happen is you might use a tool like Canva. You won't even have to leave Canva to get access to some of these prompting techniques. And so Canva is a great example. And there's many others who can also get nonprofit benefits, and I highly recommend that. Well, great, thank you so much. Look forward to